Welcome to Mediator Musings. The podcast series is produced by Mediation Institute to provide a self-serve way for dispute resolution students and professionals to consider basic and more advanced concepts related to our work.
I'm Joanne Law, Director of Mediation Institute. I'll often be joined on these talks by Ken Speakman, our Director of Applied Learnings, and other Mediation Institute members or mediation industry professionals. We'll be sharing our insights about what makes mediation such an effective way of de-escalating and resolving disputes and the art and science of mediation. You can join the conversation on Facebook on the Mediator Musings Facebook group. Welcome to the first Mediator Musings podcast of 2021. Today, Ken and I will be talking about perceptions.
I want to talk about perceptions first, if we can.
Yep, that'd be fantastic. Thank you, Ken.
Okay, over to me. Okay, perceptions. Basically, with perceptions is how we view the world, and that becomes our truth. So our perceptions is our truth. Now, that means my perceptions can be very different to what Joanne feels about a certain subject. And if they line up, fantastic, we've got an accord, an agreement, no issue. But if they don't line up, that can cause a bit of a disagreement to occur. How are perceptions formed? Well, firstly, perceptions come from our biology, our DNA. Not everyone is born the same. Some people have better vision than others, some have better hearing than others, some have more of a logical brain or more emotional brain. There's lots of differences in our biology, and this influences how we see the world. The next thing we come across is our upbringing. As small children, we're influenced by our parents, and they set the ground rules for our first few years in this environment. And that upbringing can also form perceptions of how the world should look and how it should react. Once we get past that stage in our life, we start getting involved with education. Now, schools also alter our perceptions. So we're being influenced with heaps of different ideas and concepts through the education system, and this dynamically changes the way we see the world. Also, we've got our own life experiences. And how we interact with the world in general changes our perceptions of the world. And how we talk and treat other people, the socialisation through every one of the previous, also affects how our perceptions work. Now, I know I'm saying perceptions a lot here, but once again, I'll say our perceptions is our truth. Now, you've seen the demonstration where you're two people sitting opposite each other on a table, and someone puts a piece of paper down with number 6 on it. You ask both of them, what number do you see? One will say 6, one will say 9. They're both telling the truth from their perception of the world. Even though they can't be both telling the truth, they both are.
Yeah.
So in a mediation environment, you can have two people who are at total odds against each other over a particular fact, but from their both perceptions, they're correct. So as a mediator, we've got to unpack these to find out where the interests underneath lie.
Yeah.
And get them to look at the perceptions from the other person's point of view.
Yeah, no, it's very true. So biology, upbringing, education, life experiences, which can be a huge thing, socialization, your friends and networks, and perception. So basically, where are you standing? What can you see?
Exactly.
It can be just as actually physically limited as that. What's blocking your view? So often what's blocking can be internal,
Yep.
or it might actually be external. So you heard something, but you didn't see it and you made your own interpretation.
And perceptions, as I said, like on the biology level, if I was colourblind from birth, you point to the sky and say, what a beautiful blue sky, I've got no idea of the concept of blue. How do you explain blue to me?
Yeah.
It's a cool colour. What's a cool colour? What's a hot colour? So you can't really, because I've got no limitation, I can't actually see colours. Therefore, I have this huge perception blind spot as far as colours are concerned.
Yeah, and if you grew up in a family where they were supportive and helpful, then you'd learn to trust other people's interpretation of colours. If you grew up in a family where they thought it was really good fun to tease you, then you may learn to distrust other people's interpretations.
And forgetting about the colourblind stage, just imagine the upbringing where you've got parents who are at war with each other, how that's going to affect your socialisations in the future.
Yeah. Yeah.
If your father is very aggressive and putting the mother down all the time, and if you're a guy, you might then have a lower opinion of women. Or you may have the opposite, a higher opinion, because you love your mother so much.
Yeah. Yeah,
so
absolutely.
These factors can change our perceptions of the world.
Yeah.
But my perception is my truth, but it doesn't mean to say it's correct.
No, but it might be. And my perception might be different. And it doesn't necessarily mean that it's wrong. It may be a different interpretation. And I guess that's, as mediators, one of the first things that we have to teach people as mediator trainers is not to try and work out who's right and wrong in a story.
No.
We have to maintain multivalent thinking. It may be possible that both are correct. It may be possible that someone's misinformed or confused, or it may
Still
be
correct
someone's
from their
lying.
side.
Yeah, it could be that someone is lying.
That could be incorrect then, yeah.
Yeah.
But it's not. We're not lie detectors. We don't.
No.
Our job is not to find out who's lying or telling the truth.
Absolutely. Our job
let's
is
say
to,
hypothetically, we're both parties to mediation as some third-party mediator.
Yeah.
And I say to you something to the effect of, I can't help you if you're 4'0" Now, you're not 4'0".
Yeah.
So you go, I'm not 4'0", I'm whatever height you are.
Yeah.
And I go, no, you're only 4 foot. Now, the mediator, without actually getting a tape measure out, wouldn't know who's telling the truth.
No.
But it's irrelevant for the mediator.
Yeah.
They've got to try and dig into it to find out why I think it's 4 foot and why you think it's not 4 foot.
Yeah, yeah. And what's the whole meaning of this height business anyway?
And how does that affect what we're talking about? Exactly. So it's not our job to sort out who's telling the truth. Our job is to explore into what they're saying to try and get them to understand each other. And the truth of the matter is, I know I'm lying and I'm lying. Why do I have to prove it to the mediator? I don't have to.
No, that's right. Yeah.
But then again, lies are an interesting thing, just diverging on that for a second. We can very easily lie to ourselves. Yes. I mean, if you say to yourself, this morning I definitely went down to Woolies and bought some milk, and you say that to yourself 20 times, by the time the evening comes around, you'll swear on a stack of Bibles you went down to Woolies and bought milk. Yeah. When in fact, you didn't. No. You keep repeating it, you believe it.
That's right. So it seems more credible that someone came into your house and stole your milk.
That darn cat. Opened the fridge, poured the milk out and drank it all.
Yeah. Or that person at work who stole my lunch, and then you get home and the lunch is sitting on the table. Exactly.
I had an actual occurrence, something very similar to that in my life. Should we go into things like this or not?
Yeah, why not?
Okay. I was working in an IT mob, and I was very high up in security and networking and what have you. And this Monday morning, I go to the office and the boss goes, Ken, I want to see you. Okay, so I go into the office and he goes, I'm very disappointed in you because we had a client on Friday who was dying for help, needed help desperately because payroll, everything was on the line, and you failed to help them. This is unacceptable. He's going to try and carpet me over it. And I sat there with a bit of a smile on my face. And he says, it's not a funny thing. And I go, I'm not laughing at this. I'm really not laughing. And he just kept, going crook at me and going crook and going crook. And I said, excuse me, I used his first name. I said, I wasn't here on Friday. I had the day off, remember? He goes, but hang. No, I told you on Friday. And I, no, I wasn't here on Friday. Yeah, you're right. He said to himself, obviously, I must tell Ken to do this. I must tell Ken to do this. I told Ken to do this. I've told Ken to do this. Yeah. Ken, why didn't you do it?
That's right. In his mind, he's done the handoff, but didn't happen.
I thought it was a rather amazing time. I had the huge grin on my face, and that really upset him too, but I shouldn't have done that.
But that's right. And so, sometimes we can feel a little bit superior when we know our version is the correct one.
And we lie to ourselves all the time. Keep telling people I have an 18-year-old brain that's writing checks my body can't cash. Someone saying I need a hand move. I can do that. The first box you pick up, you're going, oh my God, this is not good. This is not good.
Why did I volunteer for this? Exactly.
Because I'm no longer 18.
No.
Maybe 10 years older than that, but they're lying to myself again.
Exactly. Yeah. And look, we all want to be heroes of our own story. Actually, I've got a couple of blogs that I get of thing, and one of the things he said in that was we all want to be either the hero or the victim in our story, which I thought was interesting. But it can be the case if we've got a habit of blaming others and not taking responsibility, then we can create a victim story, which it's everyone else's fault. And that's another perceptual filter. It might be worth just talking a little bit about deletions, distortions and generalizations in perceptions, do you think?
We can do that here, yeah. But before we do, I want to make one comment. Just remember that so we come back to it. Part of the NLP training that I did many years ago was that everything a person does has a benefit to that person. Even destructive actions have a benefit in their mind somewhere. Yeah. Otherwise, you would never do it.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. And as a mediator, we have to think about our language of how we uncover that. Because often we can be in a situation where you might think to yourself, why on earth did they do that? But if we ask the question, why on earth did you do that? It may not get the best outcome, and it's judgmental. So we might be able to ask something like, what were you hoping to achieve? Or what was the outcome you were expecting? Or can you think of one like that too?
I've never said it, but every time something like that happens, like the voice in my brain goes something like, really? And how'd that work out for you? But you can't say that, obviously, because that's really putting them down. But that's what goes through my mind every time. Really?
Yeah.
Okay, getting back to generalizations, distortions and deletions.
Yeah, and I think part of there's a couple of really important concepts that come from NLP that relate to those, and also from brain science. Our brains are very energy expensive pieces of kit. We use a hell of a lot of energy thinking.
Yeah. And I heard somewhere it's like 20-25% of energy is used by the brain. Well, that's true or false? I've got no idea.
Yeah, no, I don't. Yeah, I don't know the number either, but I know it is a major thing. And evolutionary, we've developed this really good system of deleting, distorting, and generalizing so that we don't have to use as much processing power.
Okay. Look around the room right now. What do you see? You see lots of stuff. How much information is being filtered by your eyes into your brain? More than you could ever realize. There's millions of bits of information which, just by looking around a room, are going into your brain. We don't have enough brain power to remember it all and to process it all. So we generalize. We'll also delete stuff which is known. Every time you look at the sky, you don't go, oh, the sky is blue. You know it's blue. You look up the sky, you don't take notice of the color. You might notice a color, but you don't label it. There's lots of things we do. And my best example, I think, is look at a book. Get a technical book on whatever subject you want. It's got lots of information in it. Our brain knows the back cover, the synopsis of what's in the book. And that includes generalizations of what's in the book, distortions and deletions, because it's not the whole book.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. So we don't like, I'm sure we've all had the experience of having read a book, like really read it, really studied it, and then we go pick it up at another time and read it, and there's stuff that's completely new that we've never seen. Absolutely convinced, never ever seen that. That just, but it was there. It was definitely there. Or for people that don't read books, watch the movie or listen to even a song.
Our perception's that summary on the back page.
Yeah.
That's our perception of reality, which is the book.
Yeah. And look, sometimes people get confused about this concept and think, oh, that's like a distortion's wrong, like that's a bad thing. But it's not, because if we didn't have that ability to quickly distort what we're seeing, we wouldn't be able to tell a chair from another chair. They've come up with all these different designs, but we can instantly look at it unless it's like really off the page and say, oh, that's a chair. We might see a blob and think, wonder what that is. But yeah, generally we can tell something's for its purpose, and we do that by distorting our map. Our perception of what a chair is actually quite wide. The same thing with deletions. We only pay attention to what's important to us. And that's really important in mediation, because the questions we ask will help to bring out the information of what's important. And that can even be when we're framing up parties' opening statements. We want them to delete a lot. We don't want them to give us a blow-by-blow account of the history of that relationship word for word, do we?
No. And if we hear the words, I started many years ago, I was only a baby at the time, you're in trouble.
Exactly. So could you briefly, Ken, tell me what the issues are that have brought you here today that you'd like to resolve? Once again, that's a frame, and we'll talk about that in another session, but we're organising for them how we want the information chunked.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And then generalizations. And I think that was something that you were going to talk about a bit in another session as well, which was projections. And projections, in a way, are a generalization. We generalize on how we expect certain situations to occur.
And that's based on our reactions in those situations. So we're projecting our responses onto the other person.
Exactly.
When it doesn't work out, it's, that's bad. Conflict.
Yeah. So I guess if we had to sum up what we want people to think about in terms of perceptions, what would you think for us as humans and also for us as mediators?
Firstly, our perceptions is our truth, but our perceptions are built on a basis of like our biology, our upbringing, etc. All this information is very important because no two people are the same, and therefore every person has a slightly different perception of the same thing. Most of the time they're in agreement, but when they're not in agreement, that's where conflict starts.
Yeah.
Perceptions, my perception is my truth, your perception is your truth. And like the number 6 on the table, we can both look at the same thing and have a different response.
Yeah.
I'm saying 9, you're saying 6, we're both telling the truth. And that's the key thing. It's my truth.
Yeah, absolutely. And so as humans, if one of the parties lines up more closely to you in background and experience and perceptions, you may find that you're, without even realizing it, finding them more truthful than the other person. You may have an unconscious bias going on. And so if you feel yourself judging the truthfulness of the parties, what you have to think to yourself, what's that about?
But where's the benefit in doing that?
Yeah, as humans, we evaluate data and information.
Yeah.
So as mediators, we have to be conscious of that and think about how is that impacting. Because if someone is blatantly trying to distort the situation and manipulate and misuse the process, we do need to be aware of that as well. We have an obligation to keep not only a physically safe space, but a psychologically safe space.
Correct.
And that psychological abuse and distortion of perceptions is a significant tool used in that type of behavior. Most of the time we're just facilitating the process. On the extreme end, we do have a duty of care as well.
Oh yeah, so, that's why I've got to dig into these things and find out what's behind it. Like, why do they see 6 instead of 9?
Yeah, absolutely. Are they just standing on the other side of the table from each other?
Yeah.
Or are they actually not sharing their perceptions? Or have their filters so blocked them that they can't take in that information that doesn't align with their view of the world?
Happening all the time, even today in society, the same thing's happening.
Yeah, absolutely. It's the way that the internet works and the way it filters and limits the information is really, I suppose it's created by humans, so it is a perfect metaphor for what happens internally.
I would say that for sure.
Yeah, if you're aware of that and thinking, oh, that's not necessarily ideal, it's not ideal that I only see things that agree with my thinking, then be aware of that internally as well, of what you're deleting and rejecting.
Another way of looking at it too, someone a long time ago said to me, I think it was in the NLP training, when someone has a different perception of the world to you, don't take that as, oh my God, they're so bad.
Mm.
Find out why. You'll learn something.
Yeah.
Find out why they're seeing it that way.
Yeah.
And from that, you'll get a better understanding of how they operate, their view of the world, and it might actually change yours a little bit as well.
Yeah. Yeah. So look, curiosity, it's such a powerful tool. If you're confronted with something that challenges you, apply a lens of curiosity. Wow, how is it that they think so differently? What's going on there? Why? I need to understand this. It's so much more powerful place to come from.
Putting a shield up and saying, how dare you?
Yeah, how dare you think like that? That's So look, that's probably a good place to end our talk on perceptions. If we're thinking so, what we're going to be doing is we'll put this recording up on the Mediator Musings podcast. We're also starting up a new Facebook group to talk about some of these concepts. So there'll be a discussion feed there. So if you've got a different perception on perceptions,
let us know.
let us know if there's something that we talked about that you'd like us to expand on in another session. We'd also love to know that. So we hope that these discussions are going to be helpful for you as a new practitioner, or even as a more experienced practitioner, that you don't want to get stuck in your ways. Yeah. Any final thoughts, Ken?
No, our perceptions is our truth.
Yeah. Beautiful. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Joanne.
Thank you. If members have a particular aspect of mediation or something that's your absolute wonderful thing that you really love and would like to record one of these sessions, please feel free to do. We'd love to have some other voices involved as well when we can.
100%, because everyone has their own values and ideas, and that's how we learn, by sharing these.
Yeah, you could even say everyone has their own perceptions.
They do, they have their own perceptions.
I hope you enjoyed this episode. Remember to follow the podcast so that you can be notified of the latest episodes, and come and find us on Facebook. Search for Mediator Musing. You can share your thoughts about this episode and any other insights that you have about the art and science of mediation. You can also ask questions and give us prompts for future episodes. Come and find us on Mediator Musing group on Facebook. See you soon.